Hello and welcome back to Nursing with Evangel. In our previous video, we talked about IV flow rate, where we discussed how to get the IV flow rate for a particular medication, and we agreed that it is calculated using the amount of the fluid in mils divided by the hours that the fluid is to run for. So on this video, we are going to be talking about drop factor and drop rates. Is also applicable in IV settings. So if you have an IV pump, you may want to use the IV flow rate, which is calculated in mils per hour. So after calculation, you set the IV pump that it delivers the IV fluid in a particular mils per hour. But then if you have a manual IV set, you want to make sure that you are giving these rates in drops per minute. So to do this, you have to make use of your IV giving set. This IV giving set comes in different types. You have the 10 drops per mil, 20 drops per mil, and so on. So what I mean by 10 drops per mil is that for 1 milliliter of that solution to drop, it has to come 10 times. So 10 drops per mil is going to drop 10 drops until it becomes 1 mil. So to calculate using this method, you want to put into consideration the amount of fluid, the time for the fluid to be given, and also the drop factor of the fluid. So we are going to take our first question, and it goes like this. It says we are to administer 500 ml of 0.5% normal saline for 8 hours, and the drop factor for this question is 10 drops per mil. So let's see how we are going to do the calculation with the formula that we have. To calculate this, we are going to use the formula that we already established, and it says that the drop rate is equal to the amount of fluid in mils divided by the number of hours multiplied by the drop factor. So for the time for this fluid to be given, I recommend you use seconds. It's going to make your calculation easier than putting it in hours. So for this first question, we have it that 500 ml of 0.45% normal saline, that is the half strength, is to be administered for 8 hours using an infusion set of 10 drops per mil. So let's head back to our formula and see how it goes. We have it that the formula is the amount of fluid in mils divided by time in seconds multiplied by the drop factor. The amount of fluid we have for this question is 500 mils. So we are going to write that down. 500 mils divided by 8 hours. To convert 8 hours to seconds, we are going to multiply by 60. So we have 500 divided by 8 times 60. Then multiply by the drop factor. And the drop factor here is 10 drops per mil. So if you plug that into your calculator, you'll be getting 10.4 drops per minute. So that means that if we have an infusion of 500 mils to run for 8 hours and we are to use an infusion set of 10 drops per mil, it means that we are going to set this to 10.4 drops per minute. So we are going to approximate this to 10 drops per minute. And that is it for the first example. Let's take a look at the second example that we have here. It says that 1000 ml of normal saline is prescribed to run for 12 hours, and the drop factor is 15 drops per mil. So what will be your drop rate? Remember, we said from the formula that it is amount of fluid in mils divided by time in seconds multiplied by the drop factor, which is in drop per mil. So putting these parameters into the formula, we are going to have 1000 mils divided by 12 hours times 60 multiplied by 15, which is our drop factor. So if we put that in our calculator, we'll be getting 21.4 drops per minute, which is approximately 21 drops per minute. That is to say that if we have an infusion of 1000 mils and we are to administer it for 12 hours using an infusion set of 15 drops per mil, it means that the drop rate will be 21.4 drops per minute, which could be approximated to 21 drops per minute. Now let's look at the third question for proper mastery of this calculation. So we have metronidazole of 250 mils that is running for 3 hours, and our drop factor is 15 drops per mil. So what will be the drop rate of this infusion? So without wasting much of our time, we are going to head over to our formula. So the amount of fluid we have is 250 mils and is to run for 3 hours. That is 3 times 60. Remember, we'll say that it is best to give your time in seconds. And then after, we're going to multiply by 15, which is the drop factor. If we plug this into our calculator, we'll be getting 20.8 drops per minute. So you may want to approximate it to give you 21 drops per minute because you've approximated to the nearest whole number. So we are going to be having 21 drops per minute. That is to say that if we have an infusion of 250 mils and we have to administer it for 3 hours using an infusion set of 15 drops per mil, we have to set our drop rate to 21 drops per minute. This is going to give us the best result for this IV infusion. So I'm going to leave us with a quiz so we can practice on our own. You can practice as much quizzes as possible so that you can be able to master this calculation. So for the quiz, we have 4,500 mils of normal saline that is to run for 18 hours using an infusion set with drop factor 60 drops per mil. What will be the IV flow rate? So let me see your answer to this question in the comment section. Do well to like, comment, share this video to your classmates in nursing school, and also subscribe to the channel so that you'll be among the first set of people that will get a notification if we release another video. Bye. See you on our next one.